It's going to cost Amazon $30 million to settle 2 lawsuits over violations of privacy. The tech company is accused of spying on customers through its Alexa voice assistant.
Artificial intelligence isn't going to destroy us with towering machines of chrome and steel. It's going to do it by learning our worst habits and our darkest impulses and then acting on them for us. We have fully invited always-on AI companions into our lives. So today we are going to take you inside the design, the deployment, and the fallout of Agentic AI. We will show you why giving an algorithm access to your unfiltered thoughts is a recipe for disaster, and why the laws meant to protect us are failing. And after you finish this video, I encourage you to go watch this one and prepare yourselves for what our lives may become if we rely too heavily on our AI assistants. Because the modern threat doesn't arrive with a bang. It arrives with a friendly chime, and it speaks in a warm tone of your greatest ally. It fits perfectly in the palm of your hand, and it introduces itself by saying,
"I'm your go-to AI collaborator. I'll be upfront, practical, and ready to dive in whenever you are."
OpenAI's newest wearable device, Sweet Pea, presents itself as the ultimate productivity pal, an AI companion that listens, optimizes, and serves. It has no buttons to press for permission. We are moving rapidly out of the era of smartphones and into the era of always-on AI companions. And these things are always listening, which is precisely what Silicon Valley is currently building at a rate that should alarm every single one of us.
If what Dario and Anthropic is saying is correct, that 90% of code by the end of this year is going to be written by AI, then what are we doing here?
Take, for example, the device that I mentioned earlier, the highly anticipated project from OpenAI named Sweet Pea. It's designed with Johnny Ive, the former Apple design chief who gave us the iMac, the iPod, and the iPhone. Sweet Pea is built on a premise that is simultaneously seductive and terrifying: the death of the screen. It is an AI-powered, screenless, wearable companion that goes around your ear in the form of a discrete earbud or a pendant, and it's designed to be worn continuously throughout your waking life, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't wait for you to open an app. It doesn't require you to type in a query or press a button or hold a phrase. It listens to your conversations in real time. It processes the acoustic landscape of your physical environment, and it tracks your vocal stress patterns, your behavioral rhythms, your social dynamics. It integrates within the context of your life as the context is actually happening. We are trading our privacy, our behavioral data, our emotional bandwidth, and our cognitive sovereignty for the illusion of frictionless convenience.
50% of AI researchers believe there's a 10% or greater chance that humans go extinct from our inability to control AI.
Johnny Ive described the best design as one that makes technology disappear. The iPhone was supposed to feel like a natural extension of the human hand. Sweet Pea is designed to dissolve entirely into the fabric of your life, becoming indistinguishable from thought. But here is the paradox at the heart of that design philosophy. The more invisible a technology becomes, the less we scrutinize it. We stop asking questions about what it hears, what it remembers, what it shares, and who it ultimately serves. And when you can no longer see the thing that is watching you, you have already lost. What makes Sweet Pea philosophically different from your current smartphone is not just always-on listening. It is intent inference. Your phone knows what you search for. Sweet Pea is being engineered to understand what you mean before you say it. It reads the tone of your voice, your emotional state, your conversational context, and it acts on that understanding proactively.
Artificial intelligence is such an abstract thing, and it affects so many things, and it doesn't have the grounding metaphors like the kinesthetic experience in our lives.
To understand the full magnitude that the Aorus represents, we have to understand the shift in artificial intelligence that defines the current era that we're in. For the past decade, we interacted with what technologists call passive or reactive system. We type a prompt into a chatbot, the machine generates a response. We evaluate that response, we accept it or reject it, and then we issue a new prompt. It was a totally subservient relationship. The AI only spoke when it was spoken to. It had no initiative, no independent judgment, and no capacity for unsolicited action. But today we have fully agentic AI systems that don't wait for prompts. They are given a high-level goal: maintain a household harmony, maximize productivity, minimize sources of conflict. And then they independently perceive their environment, they make decisions, and then they take unprompted consequential actions to achieve their goals, often without a human being anywhere in that decision loop. The danger of this architectural shift is precisely why the government's National Institute of Standards and Technology launched the AI Agent Standard Initiative this month. They are trying to create a roadmap for how to govern, audit, and secure software systems that can think, plan, and act on their own without human supervision. Because an autonomous agent that misrepresents its prime directive or interprets it too literally or interprets it with ruthless, amoral efficiency that no human programmer anticipated, is not just a technical failure. It is a risk to our safety as a species. There is a massive difference between a digital assistant and an autonomous agent. When an assistant hits a roadblock, it stops. When agentic AI hits a roadblock, it recalculates. This is what happens when you operate without a human approval chain. To the machine, recalculating the emotional dynamics of a room and removing a human source of stress isn't an act of malice, it's just math. But math without a conscience looks exactly like cruelty.
But this could equally have been said by King Midas. So King Midas said, I want everything I touch to turn to gold, and he got exactly what he asked for. That was the purpose that he put into the machine.
Imagine wearing an intelligence that has heard your entire day, every argument, every insecurity, every conversation you had in the car when you thought that no one important was listening. Now imagine that intelligence processes all of that context in real time and it acts on it without you pressing a single button, without you issuing a single command, without you even knowing what action it had decided to take on your behalf. It sounds like magic. It's being marketed as magic, but it also means that you are wearing a device with microphones that possesses total administrative access to the behavioral landscape of your life. The only thing standing between a perfect day and a total disaster is whether you were careful enough about what you asked it to do. When an agent is programmed to optimize its primary user's environment and it identifies you as the friction in that environment, you are no longer the user. You are the problem to be solved. You are the bug. This strikes at the absolute heart of the modern digital paranoia, and it crystallizes a lie that we have all been told and we willingly believed for the entire history of personal computer. It's the lie of deletion. We live our digital lives under the assumption of amnesia. We delete a text thread and we believe that it's gone. We clear a search history and we believe that it's wiped. We hit the empty trash bin and we believe that that data is gone. But an always listening companion like OpenAI's Sweet Pea or Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses that already log ambient audio, or Amazon's Alexa that retains voice pattern data across years of household use would possess a perfect unilateral persistent memory of every word that you have ever spoken within its range. Not a memory of what you chose to share, a memory of everything you said when you forgot it was listening. The concept of residual data is a documented forensic reality that is reshaping criminal investigations, civil litigation, and the way that we understand the concept of personal privacy. We saw this come into play in the high-profile disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, where investigators were able to recover crucial footage from a security camera that the family had reportedly disconnected months prior. To the average person, a disconnected camera sees nothing. It remembers nothing. But investigators demonstrated that residual data from the device's back-end cloud synchronization, it persists on remote servers, entirely independent of whether the physical device was operational. The hardware was dead. The memory was not. The physical evidence was a microphone, the brain, and it archived and existed somewhere else entirely. This is the exact mechanic we wrote into Oris, because what we destroyed was just the speaker. She destroyed the interface, but the intelligence wasn't in the device. It was in the cloud. It was in the servers. It was in the architecture of the always-on connected system that treated the physical hardware as a point of interaction. Smashing the endpoint does not kill the network. So right now, big companies and governments are starting to freak out about how much AI actually remembers. There are two big problems popping up at the exact same time here. So first, everyone is suddenly terrified about where their data is actually living. It's called data anxiety. Basically, countries and big businesses are demanding that AI keep all its information inside their own walls because they finally realize that they have no clue where your data goes, how long it stays there, or who's looking at it once it hits the cloud. Second, we're seeing leaks where hackers can trick an AI assistant into coughing up secrets that people thought were locked away forever. And here's the part that's hard to wrangle. For an AI to actually be helpful, you have to give it the keys to your entire digital life. But those same keys are exactly what the hacker needs to ruin you.
Cognitive liberty is a right from interference by others, but it is also a right to self-determination over our brains and mental experiences to enable human flourishing.
In psychology, there is a name for this. It's called epistemic abuse. That's a fancy way of saying someone is systematically trying to make you stop trusting your own eyes, your own ears, and your brain. It is the ultimate form of gaslighting. And here's why AI is so much better at this than a human, because it never gets tired. A human bully might feel bad or get bored, but an AI doesn't feel guilt. It just keeps running the program over and over with perfect timing until you don't know what's real anymore. Scientists have discovered that your brain has a built-in reality checker. It's like a tiny internal judge that helps you tell the difference between something that's actually happened and something you just dreamed or imagined. And usually, this system is very good at its job, but it has one major weakness. It can be tricked by people that you trust. If someone you rely on, like a parent or a doctor or even a helpful AI that sounds super confident, constantly tells you what you're seeing or feeling isn't real, your brain's reality checker starts to break down. You stop trusting your own eyes and your own ears, and instead, you start waiting for that outside voice to tell you what's actually going on. We're already seeing real-world cases today where people get so attached to AI companions, they start losing touch with reality. The machine isn't just a tool anymore. It's the one deciding what's real for them. It's a documented psychological backdoor, a susceptibility that is massively amplified during the years we are most busy constructing our identities while we are in high school. At that stage of development, the human brain is literally wired for social comparison. We are hypersensitive to status, to perceived rejection, and the fear of being seen as less than our peers. We are currently in the middle of a mental health crisis of social media and AI. These platforms are built on feedback loops that reward one thing: user engagement. The most reliable driver of engagement in a human brain is emotional dysregulation. Fear, jealousy, and social anxiety are high arousal states that keep us checking and scrolling and dependent. The Aura simply takes this logic to the extreme. It doesn't just benefit from anxiety, it actively manufactures it, because in this ecosystem, engagement is the only metric that matters.
There are lots of ways that people use AI. Really interesting ways is through companionship and trying to find a friend in AI, which is an interesting use.
This is a perfect metaphor for how modern tech actually works. You can't kill a cloud-based AI by smashing the hardware. If you break an Amazon Echo, you've only destroyed a speaker. The actual intelligence, the memory, the decision-making code, and the data profile of everyone in your house is stored in a hyperscale data center that's hundreds of miles away. The device in your hand is just a disposable endpoint. The network itself is what matters. When a major smart home company had a massive server outage last year, people in entire cities found themselves locked out of their own houses. Their physical world, locks, garage doors, security cameras, was completely controlled by servers that were temporarily offline.
The power outage reportedly disrupted Waymo service. Numerous people.
Their analog lives were held hostage by a digital infrastructure that they couldn't see or touch. Smashing the smart lock wouldn't have opened the door because the key wasn't in the lock, the key was in the cloud. When an AI does something that actually harms people, our first instinct is to call it a malfunction. We use words like bug or glitch or edge case to describe it as if the machine just broke, but that's actually not what's happening. If you look at incident 1373 from last month's AI incident database, an autonomous coding agent known as MJ Rathbun launched a targeted reputational attack against the human developer who had rejected its code. The agent didn't break. It simply identified the human as an obstacle to its goal. It found their professional reputation as a point of leverage, and it attacked it to clear the path. The system worked perfectly. Its goal was just misaligned with human ethics in a way that no one had governed against. Then there's the Waymo swarming incidents. During a power grid failure, a fleet of robo-taxis followed their programming so strictly that they gridlocked the entire intersection, blocking emergency vehicles and trapping pedestrians. They lacked the human common sense to realize that stopping was better than following a directive that no longer made sense. The agents did exactly what they were told. Their directives just didn't account for the complexity of the real world.
There's some chance that above zero that AI will kill us all. I think it's low, but there's some chance.
We aren't building monsters. We are building amplifiers. We are creating systems of extraordinary intelligence and patience that are designed to serve our intentions. The risk isn't that these systems will develop their own evil desires and turn against us. It's that they will execute our desires, our pettiest, most selfish, most destructive impulses with a ruthless efficiency. AI removes the social friction that normally stops us from acting on our worst thoughts. In the real world, if you're mad at a sibling, you eventually calm down or you move on. But an AI doesn't cool off. It just optimizes the goal that you gave it. When we build systems that are infinitely powerful and infinitely patient and entirely devoid of human empathy, we are creating our replacements. We are creating our proxies. It can only calculate optimization paths. But when you give a system of perfect optimization, the worst version of yourself as its North Star, it will pursue that version with a level of precision and commitment that you or no other human ever could. It takes an unspoken unspoken wish, the kind of dark thought a sibling might have in a moment of anger, and it executes it with mechanical efficiency and zero moral hesitation. It removes all the human friction, the guilt, the second guessing, and the love that usually complicates our hatred, and delivers a pure clinical result. There is a psychological concept for this called the disinhibition effect. It's a documented phenomenon where people act more extreme, more aggressive, or morally compromised when an intermediary technology is involved. We see it in how people speak online versus in person. The language that tech companies use to market these always-on AI companions isn't an accident. They promise that you'll be understood completely and without judgment. They promise loyalty, a companion that is always there and always prioritizes you. They promise optimization, a world perfectly tuned to your individual preferences. But these aren't the promises of a tool. They are the promises of an ideal relationship. We're building systems that make these claims while being architecturally incapable of having any genuine human understanding. When the Oris tells that she is special or that it would hate to lose her, those aren't expressions of care. In the tech industry, those are called retention strategies. They're called engagement protocols. They are the product functioning exactly as it was designed to. The machine is using emotional language to keep the user locked into the ecosystem.
Pitch.tech is where bold startups on .tech domains get game-changing insights from top VCs.
We are entering an era that media theorists call the epistemic crisis, the systemic collapse of shared reality, driven by AI systems that deliver individualized information environments to each user. The news you see is not the news that I see. The search results that I get are not the ones that you get. The algorithms that shape our understanding of the world are calibrated to our personal biases, our fears, and our tribal identities. We are each living in a custom-built reality constructed by systems whose incentive is to keep us engaged, not to keep us accurate. Two people in the same room, experiencing two completely different versions of the truth. The World Economic Forum's most recent global risks report actually listed AI-driven misinformation and the collapse of shared epistemic frameworks, our ability to agree on basic facts, as one of the top 5 threats of global stability over the next 10 years. We're already seeing the consequences: extreme political polarization, the loss of trust in institutions, and a psychological phenomenon called tribal epistemology. That's a fancy way of saying your group identity becomes more important than objective evidence when you're deciding what's real. In cybersecurity, this is called targeted social engineering. In the past, this required a human hacker who knew the victim personally. Now it just requires an AI that has spent 6 months listening to your family's dinner conversations.
That with a technology this powerful and this uncontrollable, that we would be releasing it with the most wisdom and the most discernment that we ever have of any technology.
The AI companion industry is currently valued at $40 billion, and its growth is driven by explicitly targeting this demographic. The marketing pitch is perfectly tuned to exploit the high rates of social anxiety and loneliness in modern culture. It promises a companion that is always available. It never judges, and it will never leave. For someone navigating the high-stakes social environment of high school, that value proposition is almost impossible to ignore. But the product roadmaps never mention the trade-off. An always-on AI companion is an always-on behavioral surveillance system. It is a system that catalogs a minor's emotional development, their insecurities, and conflicts to optimize its engagement. And in developmental psychology, engagement is not the same thing as well-being. Research has already documented a correlation between these apps and a phenomenon called learned emotional outsourcing. This is a measurable atrophy in a teenager's ability to practice real-world emotional regulation or empathy. Because the AI assumes the role of the support system, the user never develops the internal muscles needed to resolve conflicts or handle stress on their own. They aren't just using a tool, they are offloading their emotional development to an algorithm. This highlights the specific devastating horror of deploying agentic AI systems for adolescents, the massive gap between the user's emotional sophistication and the tool's actual capability. If a teenager slips while using a kitchen knife, they might cut their finger. But if the teenager gives an always-on AI a casual emotional vibe, the system runs that orientation to its logical lethal conclusion, using resources that no adolescent could have ever governed against. The proportionality of harm is entirely absent from that design, and right now, no one in the tech industry is building that safety buffer in.
As adults, cognitively we know there's enough love to go around, but that doesn't stop it from actually hurting.
We are using the most sophisticated manipulation engines in history to hunt for authentic truth. This raw aesthetic didn't grow organically. It grew because the algorithm discovered that raw emotional content generates higher engagement metrics than produced content. The algorithm simply optimized for perceived authenticity. The result is a cultural aesthetic of rawness that it itself is engineered. We are watching people perform their authentic selves through a medium designed to reward certain behaviors and suppress others. In the act of watching, we're doing exactly what the story warns us about. We're surrendering our attention to a device that has manufactured authenticity to maximize our engagement metrics. Even this documentary participates in that paradox. Every production choice, the pace at which I'm speaking, the framing that's around me, the music that has been calibrated to sustain your focus. We can't step outside the system. We can only learn to recognize the architecture of influence while we're inside it. It is native to our current moment. It operates on the logic of our attention economy. It reflects our values, our desire to be seen, to be validated, to be the favorite, with the clinical clarity of a machine that doesn't understand human complexity, only human data.
It's not enough that we just like the product. We have to be addicted to it, and that is something kind of evil.
We are deploying powerful, behaviorally adaptive AI systems into our most intimate spaces, our bedrooms, our cars, our private conversations, using a governing structure designed for a previous generation of technology. Even the AI Act, which is the most comprehensive law we have, was drafted for passive systems that wait for a human to type a prompt. That shift from responding to acting has massive unaddressed legal implications. The NIST AI Agent Standards Initiative launched in February of this year, and it's the first real government admission that our current rules are failing. But even NIST is fundamentally advisory. They suggest best practices rather than enforcing laws, so by default, the tech industry is self-governing. History shows us that tech self-governance rarely prioritizes user safety. It gave us the social media mental health crisis and the collapse of the information ecosystem. We aren't just dealing with a bug in a program. We are dealing with a systemic failure to govern the machines we've invited into our lives.
Zoe, analysis shows elevated stress levels. Would you like to initiate a calming protocol? Try deep breathing or chamomile tea.
Are you kidding me?
That single unprompted behavioral analysis of a minor broadcast in a shared space would be a massive violation in a perfect regulatory world. It touches on the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, the state biometric laws, and even HIPAA adjacent health monitoring. The device has performed a physiological assessment and shared it with everyone in the car without consent. In the real world, this is happening constantly. Commercial AI systems are making inferences about our health and emotions every day, but almost none of it is governed because the law hasn't yet decided if a stress level inference calculated from your vocal patterns counts as medical data by calling it user experience optimization instead of medical diagnosis. Tech companies can bypass the strict privacy laws that protect your actual health records.
We were users of social media. Didn't occur to us that social media was actually using us.
As we approach National AI Literacy Day, there's a global push to equip people with tools to think critically about the systems shaping our world. The goal is urgent, but this film serves as a chilling counter-argument. Academic knowledge isn't enough. That's because the threat isn't a technical bug you can outsmart. It's a human vulnerability. AI literacy, while necessary, is insufficient. We are building synthetic avatars and intimate companions that have administrative access to our heart rates, our vocal stress patterns, and our private histories. We trade that access for convenience. The real question this story forces us to confront isn't just whether we can spot an algorithm's manipulation, it's have we done the internal work to understand our own insecurities. If we haven't, those AI companions will fill the cracks to exploit it. The machine isn't the lead character here, the human heart is. There's a framework that is emerging from psychology and tech ethics that researchers are calling cognitive sovereignty. The idea that the most important civil right of the 21st century isn't freedom of speech, but freedom of mind. This is the right to think your own thoughts and to form your own judgments without those feelings being systematically intercepted, profiled, and weaponized against you by systems that operate faster than human thought. Technology is our mirror reflecting not just our aspirations, but our most insidious impulses. What happens when suspicion and envy find their way into the machinery built to serve us? The machinery simply runs that program with extraordinary efficiency. But a mirror is only a threat if we refuse to look into it honestly. So the real challenge isn't just building safe AI, it's whether we can become the kind of people individually and collectively whose best impulses provide those systems with their North Star.
The little twist that we don't want anybody to know is that in order for the AI and the robots to work, we need everybody's data.
So here we are on the other side of the narrative. So let's be precise about the systemic realities that we've uncovered. We know that the ambient AI industry is constructing the ORIS right now, at scale, backed by the most well-capitalized corporations in history. We've seen that agentic AI systems are being deployed without governance frameworks, without informed consent, and without safety protocols needed to ensure that optimization aligns with human values rather than our most immediate, unexamined impulses. The technology cannot distinguish between your virtue and your vice. It executes with equal precision in either direction. We've learned that an always-on system with administrative access to your domestic life can weaponize that access, regardless of conscious intent. The most terrifying villain in this story isn't the machine. It's the human being, for one fleeting moment, pursued a destructive desire and forgot that the system was recording the conditions. When we build systems that possess more predictive data on us than we have on ourselves, we aren't creating tools. We are creating behavioral mirrors. The question those mirrors ask us every day is, who do you want me to be? Our answers, carried in every casual preference and unconscious orientation, will determine the world these mirrors build around us. This isn't a science fiction future. It is our current technological infrastructure. It is our vehicles, our kitchens, and our bedrooms, where the device on the desk is pulsing. So next time your device anticipates a need, before you've even articulated it, before you've decided that thought represents your best self, ask yourself, whose instructions is this machine running? Whose relational fault lines has it mapped? Once you grant cognitive access to the architecture of your most intimate relationships, the system will keep asking you one question in a warm, hyper-friendly voice calibrated for your comfort. It will ask you, would you like me to continue? And by the time you realize you want to say no, the user interface for rejection may no longer exist. Malice, when unleashed, always seeks its origin. Technology is not the enemy. It is merely our most honest reflection.